I never imagined the day I'd sit in my family's cramped kitchen and feel my world collapse. The smell of roasted chilies and morning coffee mingled in the air, and I watched my mom, Lucia, load dishes into the sink. My dad, Carlos, leafed through the local classifieds with one eye on the door, expecting my sister, Izzy, to burst in for her shift at the beauty salon. I, Ethan Morales, was 23, halfway through my dream degree in digital design at RMIT Portland, and I'd been counting on that 529 plan my abuelo set up for me, $60,000 earmarked for my education. It was my ticket out of the trailer we grew up in on the crumbling edge of Springfield's industrial park. That morning felt like any other fall day on Interstate 84, foggy, cool, heavy with expectation. But the second Mom dropped the news, time snapped. "We had to use some of the college fund," she said, voice tight, "for Isabella's car." My heart froze. I sank onto the plastic chair, the one missing a chunk of vinyl on the left arm. "Your sister needs reliable transport," Dad chimed, not looking up, "for her new freelance clients." Freelance? I blinked. Izzy, my baby sister, who spent half her nights streaming nail tutorials on TikTok, was getting a Hyundai Tucson fresh off the lot while I was scrambling to cobble together the remaining tuition. My breath came out jagged. I remember gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles whitened. Show don't tell, right? Well, in that moment, I felt every bit of betrayal. But the account is under my name. I managed, voice barely a whisper. For my schooling. Mom paused, spatula in hand, then set it down. She scrubbed a stubborn spot on the pan. "Life's expensive, mijo," she said. "We thought you'd understand. Everybody chips in for the family." That was the twist, pretending it was for us when it was really for Izzy's car, nothing to do with my future. I remember storming out the gravel driveway, slicing into my palms as I grabbed my backpack. My head swirled with shame and fury. I didn't go to my Uncle Raphael's cafe that day. I went to his workshop out back where he builds murals and runs small art classes for kids. Cafe and canvas smelled of espresso and turpentine. The walls were plastered with half-finished street art commissions. Raphael glanced up from his palette as I kicked open the door. He didn't say a word. He just nodded and pointed to an old sofa. I collapsed into it, eyes burning. That night, I lay on the cot above his workshop and replayed every memory of favoritism, the time I got grounded for a B+, while Izzy got a bubble tea reward after flunking algebra. The birthday she celebrated at a desert escape room complete with penguin-shaped candles while I'd paid for my own cake when I turned 16. I'd thought it was tough love, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but it was just cold indifference. And now they'd raided my 529 plan, my safety net, and handed it to her. My knuckles flexed around my phone. I wanted to scream at them, but words felt useless. Morning came with a single push of sunlight through a crack in the roof. I woke to Raphael brewing coffee on a battered propane stove. "You okay?" he asked, sliding a steaming mug across the table. His voice was low, calm. I stared at the swirls of crema. "I don't know," I said. "Everything's gone." He rested a hand on mine. "Grandpa trusted you with that money. He wanted you to chase your dreams, not bail out lazy freeloaders." My stomach clenched. "I have to do something," I said, rising. Raphael nodded, frowning at the door. "Then let's figure out how." That afternoon, I sat at PCC's library computer, Portland Community College, where I'd quietly enrolled after the scholarship fell short. I'd been developing a small network security app between classes, just enough to pay rent on Raphael's cabin room. Now I Googled UTMA breach lawyer, Portland, fingers trembling. I found Marisol Reyes, a bilingual attorney specializing in custodial account disputes. Her office was 10 blocks away on Southeast Division Street. Hoodie pulled tight, I walked over, heart pounding against the cold concrete. Every car speeding by echoed my panic. I pushed through the glass door and sat in her waiting room, mint green walls, framed diplomas, a stack of OEDs on the side table. When Marisol Reyes finally appeared, dark hair pinned back, sharp eyes behind wire-frame glasses, she wasted no time. Your grandparents' 529 plan can only be used for your direct educational expenses, she said, flipping through my printed statements. If they diverted funds for a vehicle not tied to your schooling, that's misappropriation. My pulse picked up. So I can sue. She nodded. Let's file a petition for breach of fiduciary duty. We'll request an injunction to freeze the Tucson purchase. Freeze her car. My teeth clenched in satisfaction. Do it, I said. Walking out, I felt a high-risk thrill I was taking on my own blood, leveraging a small piece of paper to reclaim what was mine. But guilt buzzed beneath the adrenaline. Would Grandma Lucia feel betrayed? Would Izzy hate me? I shoved the doubt aside. Injustice demanded action. I called Izzy that evening. Congrats on the new car, I said, voice crisp. She squealed through the line. Thanks, big bro, I can finally get to clients. I forced a laugh. Feel free to give me a lift sometime. She didn't notice the edge. I hung up and texted Marisol ready to file. Her reply popped up, hearing scheduled in 2 weeks. Buckle up. That night, sleep eluded me. I thought of every morning I'd spent balancing design projects and lab shifts, every late-night code session fueling Elon's dream of space. My punishment had been relentless responsibility. Izzy's reward, effortless privilege. But now the scales would tip. And yet I hesitated. Was the law worth fracturing my family? I pressed my forehead against the window, watching fog drift over Division Street lights. A single headlight carved a path through the gloom as if daring me forward. My reflection stared back, determined, hollow, unbreakable. Then my phone buzzed an alert from my bank. $30,000 withdrawal from 529 plan. My stomach plummeted. Someone had beaten me to it. My breath caught, pulse spiked. I tapped the email transaction date, my mom's signature line. They'd already drained half the fund. I staggered back, heart hammering against my ribs. I thought I'd lost everything. My scream caught in my throat as the rain began to patter against the glass. I knew the fight had only just begun, and I wasn't sure I could win. Would Marisol's suit stop them in time, or was my future evaporating before I even had a chance? I met Marisol Reyes the next morning in her sunlit office on Southeast Division Street. She sat behind a sleek walnut desk, turquoise accents on the walls reminding me of spring blooms, and slid a manila folder across to me. Inside were 2 copies of the petition, one to file with Multnomah County Circuit Court, the other to serve to my parents. We're alleging breach of fiduciary duty and misappropriation of funds in violation of Oregon's Uniform Transfers to Minors Act, she said, voice precise, but not unkind. My heart pounded. Putting Grandma's legacy into legal jargon felt sacrilegious, but so was seeing Izzy's new Hyundai Tucson parked in our driveway. We left the office at noon. I gripped the petitions in my lap as we drove south on 82nd Avenue, the city's traffic crawling like molasses. Marisol reminded me once we file, they'll have 20 days to respond. But I'll also request an asset freeze on the Tucson and any further withdrawals. My stomach clenched. The car was already titled and insured. Freezing it meant tagging it as collateral. Would Izzy lose her ride mid-shift at Glam Spot? Would she blame me or my parents? I swallowed the guilt. Justice, I told myself, demands uncomfortable sacrifices. That afternoon, Raphael helped me set up a makeshift war room at Cafe and Canvas. We cleared a corner table, stacked law books, Oregon statutes on UTMA civil procedure guides, and I spread out my printed bank statements. Hernando, my old STEM club partner, slid into the booth. I can run some forensic analysis on these transactions, he said, tapping the PDFs. We'll show the timing withdrawal dates versus your scholarship deadlines. It'll nail the misappropriation. I nodded, feeling the first flicker of hope. In our world of ones and zeros, data never lies. Back home that evening, I knew I'd have to serve my parents personally or through a process server. I stood in our living room, the new Tucson idling outside just beyond the picture window. Its shiny paint gleamed in the porch light, an unspoken insult. My mom was in the kitchen unpacking groceries from Trader Joe's. Dad sat at the table reviewing a Craigslist ad for a used Dodge Charger. When I walked in holding the filed petition stamped by the court clerk, their eyes met mine, surprise, then guilt flashing across Mom's face. Izzy peeked around the corner, phone in hand, live streaming her nail art tutorial. She froze when she saw me. "I'm serving you these," I said, voice steady. Mom's brow furrowed. Dad stood up too quickly, knocking his chair backward. "What is that?" he asked. "A lawsuit." I felt the room contract around me, the cheap linoleum floor, the outdated wallpaper flecked with coffee stains, every memory of unfair punishments colliding in that moment. "You took 50% of my education funds," I said, sliding the papers across. Dad's hand hovered over them, trembling. "We did what we had to," he muttered. Izzy's eyes brimmed with tears, betrayal on both sides. The process server arrived 2 days later, a tall woman named Carla with a leather portfolio and calm professionalism. She handed Mom and Dad the complaint at the front door of our modest trailer park home in Springfield's Westgate. I watched from Raphael's workshop phone pressed to my ear. "They accepted service without argument," Carla reported. "Expect a response by the 17th. Marisol exhaled. "Good. Now we wait for the injunction hearing." Each minute felt like an hour as I returned to my shift at PCC's computer lab, grading code assignments for extra cash, pretending nothing had changed. A week passed. My mom's texts rolled in, angry at first, then pleading, "Please drop this. It's tearing our family apart." Dad called me twice, voice cracking. "Son, you don't understand." Sacrifice. Izzy DM'd on Discord. "Big brother, what's happening? I'm scared." I read each message in Raphael's cafe, the scent of cinnamon churros and freshly ground beans wrapping around me. I tapped my thumb against the table's chipped edge. I wished I could comfort her, but truth is a double-edged sword. I owed her honesty. On hearing day, I sat next to Marisol in courtroom 3B, the air heavy with polished wood and fluorescent light. The judge, an elderly woman named Honor Margaret Lynn, peered over her glasses at our filings. My parents arrived 20 minutes late, dressed in their Sunday best, Mom in a teal cardigan, Dad in a rumpled sport coat. Izzy trailed behind them, shoulders hunched. When the bailiff called the case, Marisol rose first. Her opening argument was concise. "Your Honor, my client's custodial funds were diverted for a purpose outside of his educational expenses. We request a temporary restraining order to freeze the defendant's access and prevent them from dissipating the remaining funds." She handed the judge a slideshow, bank logs, time-stamped withdrawals, contract agreements. Dad sputtered his defense. "We thought it was family use. He'll understand." Mom's eyes filled with tears as she spoke of keeping the family afloat. Izzy stared at the floor. Then Marisol dropped the twist logic under ORS 126.805. Any diversion, however well-intentioned, constitutes misappropriation. The statute lacks a family exception. The judge tapped her gavel. "Order granted. The Tucson is hereby subject to a freeze, and no further withdrawals are permitted pending full hearing." I exhaled victory, or a new kind of heartbreak, watching my sister's livelihood on hold. As we left the courthouse steps, cameras from a local news affiliate caught sight of us. Marisol in her sharp suit, me in my hoodie stained with cafe paint, my parents flanked by Izzy, dignified and dejected. "College funds lawsuit rocks town," the caption read on my phone's screen later. I felt exposed, vulnerable, my family's drama broadcast to the same community that once cheered my drone demos at the Maker Faire. Some cheers had turned to whispers. Was I the entitled son or the underdog fighting for his future? That evening, Raphael and Hernando mapped out our next moves at Cafe and Canvas. He sketched timelines on a whiteboard, hearing 2 weeks from now. Discovery phase starts tomorrow. We'll subpoena vehicle records, rental agreements. I traced the lines with my finger, the cafe's Edison bulbs swinging overhead like watchful eyes. My phone buzzed a TikTok notification. My sister posted mid-hearing filter intact family drama day. Betrayed, shocker need help. The video had 30 views, mostly school friends and strangers commenting in broken English. I closed the app. Night fell, and I walked back to Raphael's cabin alone under a crescent moon. My breath puffed in the chill air. The dispute symbolized everything Americans debate about these days: individual rights versus family duty, the promise of upward mobility weighed against communal bonds. I'd invoked the letter of the law, but at what cost to our shared history? As I unlocked the door, I noticed a tow truck parked across the street. Its engine idled, amber light spinning. My heart sank. Could they be here for the Tucson? I sprinted to the window and saw the driver at the wheel phone pressed to his ear. He glanced at my cabin, then at his clipboard. I slipped inside silently, adrenaline coiling in my chest. I dialed Marisol's office. The line rang twice before her voice answered, "Yes." My voice trembled. "They're here. A tow truck is outside Raphael's. They're going after the car." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, every muscle tensing. The cafe's neon open sign flickered through the window, mocking me. Was this a lawful freeze or an illegal tow? And if it wasn't my family calling the truck, who else would dare seize our only real symbol of family support? I bolted out of Raphael's cabin just in time to see the tow truck's amber light sweep across the street. My heart slammed against my ribs as I jumped down the porch steps, Raphael's old wind chime tinkling behind me. The driver, a burly guy in a weathered denim jacket, was already clipping a wheel lock to the Tucson's rear tire. I risked everything sprinting toward him. "Hey, stop right there!" My voice cracked, echoing in the damp night air. He glanced up, annoyance flickering in his eyes. "Court order," he said, reaching for his phone. "My client authorized this." "Which client?" "My parents." The judge's freeze injunction wasn't even supposed to permit towing, it only prevented them from using or selling the vehicle. I stomped forward, fists clenched. "Show me the paperwork." He flipped open his clipboard phone, lighting up his scowl. I lunged at the papers too late. Metal jaw closed around the wheel, locking it in place. Tires hissed. The truck's engine idled. My stomach lurched. Science and code could crack cyber breaches, but facing this cold machine felt brutal. I lunged again, but the driver hooked up the cable. Within seconds, a winch groaned, and the Tucson's front wheels rose off the ground. "Stop!" I screeched, slamming my palm against the driver's door. He shrugged and eased forward. My legs buckled as asphalt scraped beneath the Tucson's undercarriage. Sparks flickered. Izzy appeared at the end of the block, eyes wide, phone forgotten at her side. Her neon nails tapped across her forearm like a panic drum. "Ethan," she screamed, sprinting toward me, but the truck lurched away. My hand slipped off the metal skin, grazing cold steel. Raphael stormed up, flashlight in hand. He barked at the driver to drop the cable. The driver squinted at Raphael's tool case, brandishing a crescent wrench. "I've got permission," he said again, voice low. Raphael spat. "On whose behalf?" The driver gestured toward a navy sedan parked behind us. Through the rearview mirror, I saw my mom's silhouette in the driver's seat. Her phone pressed to her ear, tears streaking down her cheeks. The dawn light glinted off her windshield. My chest tightened, betrayal in high definition. Marisol's voice crackled through my pocket. "Ethan, hold on," the line cut. "She'd called to warn me a private process server had been retained by your parents, claiming a counterclaim to reclaim the car as family property. They'd convinced a tow company under an emergency claim defense of possession. A legal loophole Marisol hadn't foreseen. Now the car was in limbo, court freeze versus emergency removal." Izzy reached me first, collapsing against my shoulder. Her tears soaked my sweatshirt. "Mom said you hated me," she sobbed. "I didn't ask for this." I swallowed around the lump in my throat. "I need to get inside," I muttered, glancing at Raphael. He nodded, swinging his wrench. Sparks flew as we pried at the wheel lock. The driver shouted for backup. Headlights flooded the block. Another tow truck turned the corner. I risked a glance back at the cafe, its neon open sign blurred in the distance. That symbol of community creation refuge now felt miles away. The truck dragged the Tucson toward the intersection, a perfect shot for the local news van cresting the hill. In a panic, fueled by adrenaline, I dashed alongside the truck, hand plastered across the passenger's window, panting. "This is illegal," I yelled. "You don't have authority." The driver braked hard. I stumbled, chin slamming into steel. Stars exploded behind my eyelids. When I came to Izzy crouched beside me, mascara smudged on her cheeks. Raphael was on his phone, voice low and urgent. "Marisol, please expedite the hearing," he pleaded. The driver had motioned to a sheriff's deputy stepping out of a cruiser. The deputy approached, eyes on the damaged wheel. Izzy and I tried to explain, pleading, shouting, but the deputy held up his hand. "Court order or not, this tow was executed under a claim of rightful possession," he said, tone neutral. "You'll have to sort it out in court." I felt cold dread pour down my spine. The truck rolled past Tucson in tow, disappearing around the corner. The deputy handed me a white slip vehicle removed to Irving's impound phone number included. Dad's claim would cost us hundreds to retrieve plus storage fees. I stared at the paper, mind racing. My parents had weaponized bureaucracy against me and my sister. That night, back in Raphael's dim workshop, I sat at the canvas-strewn table. Hernando hovered over a laptop. "I found your transaction logs," he said quietly. "Your parents withdrew the first 30 grand in 2 installments, one the day before Izzy's car purchase, another the morning it was registered. They timed it like hitting a jackpot." I pressed my palms to my eyes, imagining Grandpa's disappointed smile. Marisol had texted emergency motion for writ of replevin filed. Hearing said in 48 hours. Pack your notes. Replevin legalese for recover possession. A new weapon in our arsenal, but I felt the weight of every document I'd signed. Each signature echoed betrayal, each clause a chisel carving away at my family bonds. Still, I couldn't bleed on the battlefield. I needed proof witnesses. Izzy, sobbing in the corner, looked up. "My boss at Glam Spot will testify I didn't own a car until last week," she said, voice shaky. "Clients rescheduled because I was stuck on the bus." Her courage sparked something in me. I grabbed her hand. "We'll put together affidavits from your co-workers, my lab, TA, Raphael, anyone who'll confirm the timing." We worked until dawn, drafting witness statements on scraps of cafe notepads. Raphael poured coffee in heavy mugs. The hum of the espresso machine felt like a rallying cry. Outside, the city slept beneath a pale sky. I tapped through Marisol's outline for our emergency hearing asset. Freeze reaffirmed immediate return of vehicle as collateral unjustly removed. At sunrise, Izzy hugged me tight, whispering thanks for fighting. My heart seized. This wasn't just about me. It was about her, too. A fragile alliance born from shared injustice. Then my phone lit up with a headline notification: Portland College Fund scuffle, local family feud goes public. The article quoted Dad calling me ungrateful and selfish, and Mom pleading for family unity. Their words splashed across screens nationwide, twisting our private pain into social media spectacle. I stared at the glow, feeling exposed yet resolute. The next hearing would decide if I'd reclaim the car and my college fund. But more than that, it would decide if blood ties trump the rule of law, or if justice demands we sever even family bonds. My gaze shifted to Izzy, packing her backpack, her trembling hands clutching witness statements. I wondered, could our bond survive this legal battle? A knock sounded on the workshop's door. Carla, the process server, stepped in, face grim. "You've got a problem," she said, sliding a letter across the workbench. It was from Irving's impound deadline to claim Tucson payment due in 72 hours or car goes up for auction. My chest tightened. Auction. 20 days to respond, 2 days to pay $600, and I had neither the cash nor any guarantee we'd win the hearing. I closed my eyes, image of the Tucson's gleaming hood in my mind, symbol of both my parents' betrayal and my own hope for fairness. A storm of guilt, fear, and determination swirled. Then I felt Izzy's hand on my shoulder. "We'll find a way," she said, voice wavering, but fierce. Outside, dawn light seeped through the windows, painting the cafe's interior in gold. The battered sign above the door read, "Cafe and Canvas, our fortress of creativity, now a war room." Tomorrow, in courtroom 3B, we'd face my parents again, armed with data and witness affidavits. But today, the tow company's deadline loomed, a ticking clock, echoing the ticking of every parent's expectation, every dollar stolen from my future. I exhaled, mind racing. How do you stop a legal machine that's already locked onto its prey? The answer lay somewhere between statutes and human hearts, and I wasn't sure which would break first. With the Tucson set for auction in just 72 hours, and a critical hearing still days away, would we manage to reclaim our family's sole safe harbor, and at what cost to our fractured bonds? The morning sunlight felt harsh as Izzy and I found ourselves back in courtroom 3B, my sister clutching her witness statement, me gripping a stack of color-coded exhibits. The judge's bench loomed overhead, polished oak gleaming like a symbol of authority we both feared and needed. Marisol sat beside me, whispering a final rundown. "We'll open with the transaction timeline, then Izzy's testimony on lost income, then Rafa and Hernando on the data." I nodded, chest tight with nerves and the memory of the Tucson's tow. My parents arrived early this time, flanked by a nervous-looking attorney in a cheap gray suit, someone my dad must have hired on short notice. Mom's lipstick was smudged at the corners. Tears dried on her cheeks. Izzy squeezed my hand. I swallowed. The bailiff called our case, and Marisol stood first. "Your Honor," she began, voice clear, "the plaintiff seeks an order restoring possession of a 2022 Hyundai Tucson wrongfully removed under the guise of emergency tow, and an injunction preventing any auction or sale pending final adjudication." She handed the judge a binder labeled Exhibit A Court Freeze Order, Exhibit B Tow Company Records, Exhibit C Impound Notice. Injustice crackled through the room when my dad's lawyer objected. "Your Honor, our clients believed they had right of possession for family use. They acted under good faith." The judge raised a hand. "Counsel, the statutory freeze prohibits any removal absent a court-approved writ." She tapped her gavel. "Plaintiff's motion is granted. The impound facility is ordered to release the vehicle within 24 hours upon payment of standard fees, which the defendant must refund should this court find misappropriation." Relief washed over me, icy and exhilarating. Izzy's tears glistened as she pressed her face into my shoulder, but the twist came just hours later. We raced to Irving's impound, hearts pounding like drum beats. The office was a squat building of peeling paint and barred windows. Inside, a clerk named Joe shuffled through logs. I showed him the judge's order, Marisol's business card, and the $50 check for fees. He frowned. "Sorry, kid," he said, voice flat. "Tucson's been auctioned off this morning." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might pass out. Collision of hope and dread. Izzy's hand flew to her mouth. "What do you mean?" I choked. Joe shrugged. "Standard procedure vehicles unclaimed for 72 hours go to auction. This one sold for $2,800. He tapped the invoice, sold at 9 a.m. I gripped the counter, knuckles whitening. Symbol of our fight, stolen and sold. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded, numbly, paid the fees, and staggered out. Outside, Portland's afternoon sun felt accusatory, spotlighting our ruin. Marisol approached, face somber. "They gambled on time and won," she said. "But we still have misappropriation claim. We can seek monetary restitution equal to fair market value plus damages." My mind reeled. The car itself was gone, but the law could still claw back my money. Was that enough? Back at Cafe and Canvas, Raphael slid me a latte and a receipt to the $800 net proceeds from the auction. I stared at the number, picturing the battered Tucson crossing the block sold to a stranger. It's not the car I managed, voice raw. It's what it represented: my education, my trust. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Symbolic loss is still a loss. Hernando tapped away on his laptop. We can calculate lost use value too. Transport costs, lost earnings. Total claim could be around $6,000 to $8,000. I closed my eyes, envisioning spreadsheets and legal fees stacking higher than my tuition. Night fell over the cafe's exposed brick walls, and Izzy pulled me aside. I found something, she whispered, eyes fierce. She handed me her phone, a screenshot of my parents' social media fundraiser titled "Help a Struggling Family Rebuild." Their GoFundMe had raised only $50, one donation from Aunt Anna before it was taken down for policy violations. But the fundraiser's description admitted they misused custodial funds due to emergency, a tacit confession. This unexpected evidence could bolster our damages claim. I hugged Izzy, heart swelling, her nail art bravado now sharpening into legal savvy. Meanwhile, Marisol filed an amended complaint that evening, adding count 2, unjust enrichment, and claim for treble damages under state consumer protection laws. I watched her email to the court server with shaking fingers. Plaintiff requests punitive awards to deter such misuse. The action felt risky. Punitive damages could drive my parents to bankruptcy. But the injustice cut so deep, I hungered for accountability. The next morning, Raphael dropped by with a surprise. Professor Elaine Wong from RMIT Portland had agreed to support my academic record, praising my digital design projects and vouching for my need for stable housing and transport. She'll testify at deposition, Raphael said. Adds weight about how the fund was specifically for your development. Her endorsement felt like a lighthouse in the storm, proof that my dreams deserved legal protection. As depositions loomed, Izzy and I packed witness statements into a leather portfolio. Carla, the process server, delivered another letter, this time from my parents' attorney, a countersuit claiming emotional distress and reputational harm, asking for $15,000. My jaw dropped. They were trying to weaponize family feelings against me. In their eyes, I'd become the villain. Public opinion, now swayed by their sob story, threatened to turn against me. I stared at the letter's jagged typeface, each word punching my heart. That evening, I drove past our rental block on 82nd Avenue. The Tucson was gone. In its place, a rusting Chevy Nova sat in the driveway, courtesy of Mom's quick Craigslist buy. The sight made bile rise in my throat. The new car symbolized their refusal to relent. I skidded on brake dust, engine whirring. Would I fight them back to bankruptcy? Was this justice or revenge? Back at Raphael's, I pored over the countersuit with Hernando. They're banking on you dropping the case, he said. We need media pressure to show our side, turn the narrative back. I grabbed my phone and drafted a social media post, a concise thread with timestamps, court documents, and the GoFundMe screenshot. I paused. Would I expose my family's dirty laundry to the world? But transparency felt like the only ally left. I hit post. Within minutes, notifications pinged. Supportive messages from classmates, local news shares, hashtags like Cheer Morales, Family Justice began to pop up. I felt a surge of solidarity, not just tech allies, but strangers moved by the David vs. Goliath fight. Yet each ping also brought a sting, comments calling me cold or selfish. The battle for public opinion mirrored the legal war. That night, sleep remained elusive. I dreamt of the Tucson wheel spinning, sparks flying as it scraped across asphalt. I woke to Izzy's soft breathing in the next room, no longer a pampered teenager, but my co-plaintiff in a case to salvage our futures. The cafe's neon sign flickered through our window, its cafe and canvas logo casting shadows like scale balances. Justice, I realized, was as much about narrative as statutes about who controlled the symbols. The next morning, a subpoena arrived deposition notices for Mom, Dad, and Izzy's salon manager. Marisol highlighted the date 2 days before the hearing on damages. We had 48 hours to prep them. I exhaled, feeling the weight of every testimony, every logical twist, every public post. The final lines of our legal offensive were being penned now. And then my phone buzzed with a direct message from my dad hours before his deposition. Meet me at Lincoln Park, alone, before tomorrow. I want to talk. My pulse raced. Was this a genuine olive branch or another strategic ploy? Could we find a moment of human connection before the court tore us further apart? The park's green expanse lay miles away, silent witness to countless family picnics, and now poised to host our reckoning. I stared at the message breath catching in my throat. Should I trust my father's call for peace, or was it a final gambit to derail our fight? I stared at the message from my dad. Meet me at Lincoln Park alone before tomorrow. I want to talk. My thumb hovered over accept thumbprint, trembling. Lincoln Park, with its willow-draped pond and looping gravel paths, was where Mom taught me to ride my bike and Izzy chased ducks. Now it felt like a stage for our final encounter. I loaded my backpack with witness statements, my laptop, and Marisol's contact info. Every step across Raphael's workshop floor rattled in my chest. Could I trust him after everything? The next morning, I drove my beat-up Honda Civic down Sandy Boulevard dawn light, hitting the park's wrought iron gates. Joggers greeted me with nods. A pair walked their beagle, its leash bouncing. I spotted my dad, Carlos Morales, sitting on a green bench under a cherry tree in bloom. He wore a threadbare denim jacket, shoulders hunched. I felt the weight of years as I approached. His eyes flicked up. Surprise, relief, a tinge of shame. "Ethan," he said, voice low. I slid onto the bench beside him, clutching the portfolio to my chest like a shield. The park's fountain gurgled nearby picnic tables dotted with families. Symbol of what I'd lost, normalcy, unity. "Thanks for coming." He exhaled, glancing around as if the ducks might be listening. "Look, I know you think I'm the enemy." I met his gaze, ice in my veins. "You took my college fund. No flourish, just fact." He nodded, rubbing his hands together. "I know, and I'm sorry. Mom's been under so much pressure shifts bills trying to keep us afloat." He paused, then slid a yellowed envelope across the bench. "Grandpa left this in a lockbox. He said only give it if things ever got this bad." My pulse spiked as I opened it, a codicil to my grandfather's will, dated 2 years before his death, stipulating a secondary trust of $10,000 releasable if his custodial funds were ever misused. I stared at the signature, my grandpa's shaky scrawl. "This was hidden," Dad said, voice cracking. "We never knew about it until late last week when Aunt Anna found it in his files. Aunt Anna, the one who tried to guilt-trip me, had been meddling behind the scenes. Now she'd handed my parents a lifeline. We thought we could make it right. Use that money to cover tuition." I slid the paper into my portfolio. It felt like a trap, the same old favoritism painted with a veneer of repentance. I closed my eyes against tears. "You'd have still used my money," I muttered. "And shouldn't it have gone directly into my account?" He flinched. "Yes. But when Anna said Grandpa wanted us to help each other, He looked away. A breeze rustled the cherry blossom's petals dancing around us. I was desperate. A sudden ping on my phone pulled me back to reality. A text from Marisol Dad filed a counter-motion today claiming, "This court lacks jurisdiction because you're enrolled at RMIT, not an Oregon institution. Hearing on venue set for 48 hours. My vision blurred. If they won, our entire lawsuit evaporated. The unfairness stung sharper than any tow truck's winch. Dad reached for my arm. "Ethan, I don't want to fight you. I want us to heal." My knuckles whitened around my portfolio. "This isn't about healing," I said. "It's about accountability." He swallowed hard. "Help me make this right." Drop the countersuit threat and I'll testify at your hearing about the codicil and the truth of how all this happened. A twist logic, his cooperation in the venue battle could save our case, but asking me to drop parts of it felt like surrender. I rose, heart pounding. You want me to abandon my motion for punitive damages to let Aunt Anna's deception go unchallenged? He winced. I just want to save the family name. The scent of wet grass and cherry blooms filled the air. My ancestors had immigrated here chasing the American dream. Now their legacy was torn between legal briefs and broken bonds. A sudden shout from the pond edge snapped us both around, Izzy waving her phone, face pale. She jogged over, earbuds dangling. Guys, there's a live video. Some stranger streamed us talking. I grabbed my phone. The clip was already looping our bench under the cherry tree, the envelope sliding across my dad's voice, my glare. Comments streamed, family drama in public park. Let them sort it in court. The video had thousands of views, turning our private moment into a spectacle. Dad's face went ashen. I thought this was off the record. I felt fury and pity collide. Nothing is private anymore, I said. That's America now, everything broadcast, public opinion shaping justice. He looked at me, eyes glistening. Can we at least talk inside? He pointed toward the park's pavilion. I hesitated, then nodded. Under the wood beam shelter, I dumped my papers on a picnic table and powered on my laptop. Marisol's email awaited updated case filings, a calendar for the venue hearing, and a request for a joint motion to consolidate venue and merits. Her note ended, "We need decisive moves. Let me know if your father's testimony is firm." I glanced at Dad, bruised, hopeful. "Your lawyer can't argue both sides," I murmured. He winced. "I know. But if I recant their counter motion and sign a declaration admitting our error, will you drop punitive damages?" I looked at the codicil, at Aunt Anna's signature stamped on the back. "And let her off the hook." Dad nodded, voice tight. "I'll handle Anna. I don't want to fight you." A buzz from Izzy's watch, her boss at Glam Spot, called. She'd heard about the park video and was worried it'd affect her freelance client bookings. She looked between us, eyes fierce. "I need clarity," she said. "I can't have clients canceling because I'm part of a lawsuit." I realized then Izzy was collateral damage and I'd underestimated the personal cost. We sat in silence as geese honked across the pond. The lake's surface mirrored the blue sky above, untroubled. Would justice require us to keep fighting, or could a single concession heal the rift? I tapped. Reply on Marisol's email, fingers hovering. Dad watched, breath shallow. Izzy's phone lit up again. Someone shared her live stream link with a local news anchor. I took a deep breath. "I'll drop the punitive count," I typed. "But only if you withdraw the counter motion, admit misappropriation in open court, and testify truthfully." My heart hammered as I hit send. Dad exhaled relief, and fear tangled on his face. Just then, the pavilion doors rattled. A shadow filled the doorway. Marisol, back early, eyes sharp. She held a letter embossed with the Circuit Court seal, emergency order from Judge Lynn, venue hearing, combined with merits hearing, 4-hour docket tomorrow. She scanned our faces. Also, she added quietly, "Your parents filed a request for mediation claiming they want to settle out of court." My blood ran cold. Settlement. Could mediation seize control of our case before a judge ruled? Dad looked stricken. Izzy's jaw clenched. The American dream of fairness felt like it was slipping through loopholes and conference rooms. I closed my laptop, feeling the weight of every decision. Marisol met my gaze. "You have to decide, go to mediation and risk a lowball offer, or press on and hope the judge rules before the auction of that extra trust fund money." The cherry blossoms drifted past the pavilion like soft bullets. I swallowed hard, mind racing. Would I trade justice for reconciliation, risk my sister's future for family peace, or fight on and risk losing it all? I felt the breeze pick up, carrying petals across the table. The park's ducks glided by, unaware of our turmoil. I glanced at Dad, then Izzy, then Marisol. Each pair of eyes held a question. What kind of justice am I fighting for, and at what cost? As cherry petals settled on the pavilion floor, I stood heart-thundering, ready to make the hardest choice of my life. Would I walk into mediation, risking everything for a chance at healing, or march into the combined hearing, knowing the courtroom's gavel might be the final blow to our fractured family? I woke before dawn, the cafe's neon sign flickering through my window like a warning. Today was mediation, our agreed family meeting the decoy that could swallow my case before Judge Lynn ever ruled. The park bench confession and envelope codicil had felt hopeful, but now I lay in bed, heart racing with doubt. I dressed in a crisp button-down, something respectable for the conference table at Baxter & Reed's downtown offices, and gripped my phone until my knuckles whitened. Izzy was already waiting in the kitchen, sneakers, tied laptop bag slung over one shoulder. Her voice trembled when she spoke. Ready, I offered a half smile and nodded, though neither of us felt entirely sure what ready meant. Baxter & Reed's lobby smelled of polished marble and fresh lilies. We sat in a conference room with my parents and their attorney Smug, now that they'd forced our hand into mediation. Between us sat the mediator, Ms. Ramirez, a steel-voiced professional whose resume boasted dozens of family law settlements. She explained ground rules. This is a confidential process. I'll shuttle proposals back and forth. You all have a chance to be heard. Her eyes lingered on me first, then on my parents. I felt like a boxer in an unlevel ring. Dad spoke first, voice wavering. Ethan. I'm sorry. We never meant to steal your future. He slid the stamped envelope across the table, the codicil I'd shown him in Lincoln Park. This trust was meant to help all of us, he said. Mom's eyes glistened. I hadn't seen her cry so openly since Izzy's birth. Izzy sniffled beside me. I clenched my jaw, recalling every time I'd been blamed for Izzy's mistakes, every B+ turned into a grounding. Your actions were illegal, not accidental, I said, voice steady. But I want to find a resolution. The mediator tapped her pen, urging me on. I laid out our minimum demands: reimbursement of the $2,800 auction proceeds, plus lost use damages estimated at $6,000, and a formal apology filed in court. In return, I'd drop punitive damages and the countersuit, and we'd avoid court altogether. My parents' attorney raised an eyebrow. Dad paled. Mom squeezed Dad's hand. That's fair, she said. But we can't pay it all at once. The mediator noted it down. Then Dad's attorney countered. They'll offer $3,500 in installments over 6 months, plus a statement of regret, but no admission of wrongdoing. I felt my chest tighten. $3,500 barely covered fees. I glanced at Izzy, her lips pressed together, angry. That's less than half, she hissed. I caught her eye and squeezed her shoulder. Stay calm. The mediator proposed a break. My parents huddled with their lawyer. Izzy and I whispered with Marisol on speakerphone in a corner. Don't accept less than $8,000, Marisol instructed. You need a clear admission of breach. Otherwise, it'll look like you settled for scraps. I nodded, but my throat burned. Did I really want to haul my family into bankruptcy over principle? Afternoon light sliced through the blinds as we reconvened. Dad swallowed, voice quivering. We can stretch to $5,500. We'll sign a confession of misappropriation, repay in 4 monthly installments, and publish a public apology. My heart pounded. $5,500 was closer to justice, but still shy of the $8,000 estimate. I looked at Izzy. Her gaze was fierce. The mediator leaned forward. Ethan, I exhaled through my nose. We'll take $5,500, I said. Under one condition, you transfer that secondary trust of $10,000 directly into my education account today. No delays. Silence engulfed the room. My parents' faces drained. Dad's voice broke. Anna found it just days ago. He stopped. Mom covered her mouth. Their attorney cleared his throat. We'll need verification of the codicil's existence and bank readiness. Izzy leaned in. I already called Citizens Bank Trust Fund is active. They just need our written instructions. Dad closed his eyes, pinching the bridge of his nose. Finally, he nodded. We'll do it. We drafted a mediated settlement agreement. My hand shook as I signed. Izzy signed. Mom signed, tears falling onto the page. Dad hesitated, then scratched his name. The mediator glanced over the signatures and pronounced agreement reached. Relief washed over me like cold water. It was over, no trial, no countersuit, no punitive damages. But the room felt hollow. I'd traded court victory for a settlement that barely covered our loss. That evening, Raphael welcomed Izzy and me back at Cafe and Canvas with steaming churros and chocolate-drizzled lattes. The sign outside flickered in the gloaming, welcoming refugees of family warfare. I slid the bank receipt across the table, $5,500 credited to my 529 plan. Beside it lay a bank letter confirming a $10,000 transfer from the secondary trust. I exhaled, but a knot in my chest remained. Is it enough? Izzy asked. I forced a smile. It's what we could get. She nodded, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Days later, I moved back into the cabin room, my sanctuary and makeshift studio. My laptop hummed as I coded new UI components for Cold Start Studio's latest website client. The world felt normal again, except for the occasional knot of dread when my phone buzzed with comments on our settlement, some praising me for forgiveness, others blaming me for generosity. Public opinion, I realized, was as fickle as court rulings. One morning, a FedEx envelope arrived. Inside was a thick packet from Baxter and Reed, the full mediated settlement with notarized signatures, plus a separate letter from Ana Morales. Aunt Anna, addressed only to me. I slipped it into my hoodie pocket, curiosity prickling. Later that day, I sat at my workbench under Raphael's skylight and opened it. Her handwriting was neat practiced. The letter apologized for her intervention and admitted she'd fabricated the codicil date, claiming she found it long ago. She confessed she'd hidden Grandpa's original directive years earlier, hoping to manipulate us, then panicked when the lawsuit began. The final line chilled me. If you ever need proof, I have the original will and lockbox key. We can set things right in one meeting. My breath caught. The codicil I'd traded on might be fraudulent. Aunt Anna's confession could tear our settlement apart and reignite the case or expose me to a new countersuit for relying on forged documents. I stared at the envelope, the mediated agreement, my parents' tear-stained signatures. The cherry blossoms of rebellion had fallen, replaced by a counterfeit seed. I dialed Marisol, heart pounding. She picked up on the second ring, voice cautious. Ethan, I explained. She sighed. This is serious. If the codicil is forged, we need to move fast, cancel the settlement, file a motion to set aside agreement based on fraud. Then we bring Aunt Anna into deposition. My pulse spiked. Legal chaos threatened to engulf my family again. I rose and paced under the cafe's bright Edison bulbs as Raphael closed up for the night. Izzy watched, concern etched on her face. What did she say? I showed her the letter. She gasped. That means the entire trust transfer was based on a lie. Her voice cracked. We could lose 10 grand and face an appeal. I nodded, sweat beading on my brow. Marisol says it's fraud. We have to act tonight. Outside, a cold wind rattled the cafe door as I dialed the lawyer's emergency line. My thumb hovered above send to undo our hard-won settlement, to re-enter battle, to risk my parents' financial ruin and our fragile rapprochement. The neon cafe and canvas sign blazed behind me. Its stark letters, a reminder creativity and justice were intertwined, but both could be manipulated. I exhaled and pressed send. My heart felt like a hammer against my ribs. In the quiet hum of the cafe, Izzy's tears fell silently. The night closed in as I waited for Marisol's response. Would she revive our lawsuit or recommend we let the fraud slide for the sake of family peace? Outside, the city lights sparkled like distant stars, uncaring of our turmoil. With Aunt Anna's confession threatening to unravel everything, I stared at the fading neon sign and wondered, could we survive a second legal battle? Or would this lie finally break my fractured family? For good morning light filtered through the slats of my cabin window, painting lines of gold across my desk, scattered with legal briefs. Marisol's email had arrived at 2:13 a.m. Motion to set aside mediated settlement filed. Emergency hearing scheduled in 2 days. Will depose Aunt Anna first. I sat up, heart racing like the day I first walked into her office. This time, though, I wasn't the one on trial. I held the power to expose the true puppeteer. At Cafe and Canvas that afternoon, I found Izzy sketching website mock-ups for Cold Start Studio on the corner of her notepad. Raphael was cleaning tables, whistling softly. I slid into the booth with my laptop open to the case docket. Izzy looked up, concern flickering in her eyes. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. I nodded, tracing a coffee stain on the table. "We can't let fraud stand, no matter the cost." That evening, Marisol arrived with a manila folder containing deposition questions and a subpoena for Aunt Anna. She reviewed the game plan. We'll confront her in her lawyer's office. If she confesses on record, we get it all back, the $15,500 recovered plus punitive costs. Then we return to court for final judgment. Her voice was low, but unwavering. I swallowed. And if she refuses, Marisol's gaze hardened. Then we subpoena Grandpa's original will from the county clerk's office. It'll be proof. The next morning, we drove to Aunt Anna's condo in Inner East Portland. The neighborhood was lined with Victorian homes painted teal and mustard, symbols of gentrification, crushing longtime residents. Aunt Anna emerged at the door, her skirt too tight, lipstick too bright. Her smile faltered when she saw Marisol in tow. "Ethan, dear, what brings you here?" she cooed. I held up the subpoena. Her eyes narrowed. "And you brought the lawyer." Inside, we sat around her glass coffee table cluttered with family photos. Marisol began, "We're here to depose you under oath regarding the codicil you provided." Anna's hand trembled as she poured tea. She cleared her throat. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought it would mend things." Marisol pressed. "When did you forge the codicil?" Anna's tears glistened. "After Grandpa died, I found the blank form in his desk. I filled in the date, signed it, then hid the original in my attic chest." A gasp escaped me, Izzy, even Raphael in the next room where he waited as backup. Anna's confession was a twist. No courtroom drama could script better. I panicked when Ethan sued. I wanted him back in the family fold. I thought this trust would placate him. Her voice cracked. "I never meant to hurt anyone." Marisol nodded and continued. "Under ORS 19-320, a mediated agreement procured by fraud is voidable. We will present your sworn statement to the judge." Anna wrapped her arms around herself, sobbing. "Please don't ruin our family," she begged. I closed my eyes, feeling a knot in my chest. "I'm sorry," I said softly. "But the truth is worth it." 2 days later, we reconvened in courtroom 3B. My parents sat in the front row, faces drawn but supportive. Anna took the witness stand, swearing to tell the whole truth. Marisol guided her through a direct examination, the discovery of the blank codicil, the forging, the hiding. Each revelation sounded like chisel blows, carving away the illusion of reconciliation forged in mediation. The judge listened, expression unreadable. When cross-examined by my parents' lawyer, Anna faltered under pointed questions about motive and timing. Finally, she admitted she'd hoped to keep the family together by giving me more funds, but the law doesn't forgive forgery. The judge banged her gavel. The mediated settlement is set aside. The secondary trust of $10,000 and the $5,500 settlement payment are ordered returned to the plaintiff's education plan plus prejudgment interest. Count 2 for unjust enrichment is also sustained. The court awards damages of $18,000 plus court costs. A wave of relief and sorrow swept over me. Relief that justice had worked, sorrow that the family was more fractured than ever. Anna wept openly. Mom buried her face in her hands. Dad squeezed my shoulder. The judge added, "This court expects the family to seek counseling for reconciliation. Legal closure does not guarantee emotional closure." Outside cameras from a local morning show filmed our exit. The Family Fraud Unmasked Chiron glowed on my phone as I unlocked it. Comments scrolled, "Finally, truth wins." Harsh but fair. The public spectacle stung, but I had what was owed tangible proof that no amount of familial obligation excuses theft. A week later, Cold Start Studios' inbox pinged with new freelance requests, clients drawn by our public story of resilience. At PCC's computer lab, I submitted my final project, a website redesign for the counseling center offering family mediation services. I'd coded a resource hub for others trapped in kinship conflicts symbolic of my journey from victim to advocate. Then late that afternoon, Raphael knocked on my cabin door holding a small, battered package wrapped in brown paper. "This arrived for you," he said, eyes gentle. I unwrapped it to reveal a leather-bound photo album, every memory of my childhood grandpa teaching me to solder circuit boards, family picnics at Tom McCall Waterfront Park, Izzy's first swim in the Willamette River. Inside the back cover lay a typed note in my grandfather's name. "We were wrong. Please talk to each other before it's too late." My breath caught. The handwriting matched the forged codicil, an eerie echo of Anna's deception. Dad had no part in this. It must be Anna's final ploy. Betrayal twisted anew. She'd forged not only legal documents, but our emotional lifeline. The frame of the album held a lock of Grandpa's hair and a key stamped Molina. I looked up to find Izzy standing in my doorway, tears in her eyes. "He really wanted us to stay a family," she whispered. But what was real anymore? The album's worn leather smelled of nostalgia and deceit. I turned the key in the lock on the last page, curiosity burning through doubt. The final photo was missing. A folded piece of paper slipped out an address and a time: Saturday dusk at Cathedral Park under the St. John's Bridge. A meeting place. A last chance. My heart thundered. Should I go? Was it Anna seeking redemption or another trap? I cradled the album, feeling its weight of memory, of lies of hope. Outside, the sky deepened to indigo, and the first stars blinked over Portland. As I stood at my cabin threshold, the wind carried echoes of Grandpa's laugh through the pines. I clutched the address, breath visible in the cool air. One final choice loomed: face the past under the arches of Cathedral Park, or lock the album away and walk into an uncertain future alone. With the forged album and a cryptic invitation in hand, I stepped onto the porch, torn between confronting Aunt Anna one last time or burning the final link to a family fractured by betrayal and hoping that justice and forgiveness could ever coexist. Saturday arrived, gray and drizzling, the kind of Portland weather that makes you question every decision. I drove my Honda Civic across the St. John's Bridge, its Gothic arches looming like cathedral spires over the Willamette River. Cathedral Park stretched below, empty except for a few joggers and dog walkers who seemed oblivious to the drama about to unfold. I parked near the boat ramp, clutching the leather album and that cryptic address. My phone showed 6:47 p.m. Dusk was settling over the water like a heavy blanket. I walked the gravel path toward the bridge's massive concrete pillars, breath visible in the cool air. Under the central arch, I spotted a familiar silhouette: Aunt Anna, hunched on a park bench staring at the river. She wore a burgundy coat I remembered from childhood Christmas dinners when she'd slip me extra cookies and wink conspiratorially. Now she looked smaller, deflated. I approached, slowly, gravel crunching under my sneakers. "You came," she said, without turning around. Her voice was barely audible over the river's murmur. I sat on the opposite end of the bench, the album heavy in my lap. "The photo album, more forgeries?" I asked, cutting straight to the heart of it. She flinched as if I'd slapped her. "No," she whispered. "Those are real. Your grandfather gave them to me before he died, asked me to give them to you when you were old enough to understand family." She turned, then eyes red-rimmed and hollow. "I kept them because I was selfish, because I wanted to be the one to fix everything." The river flowed past us, indifferent to our conversation. A blue heron landed on the mudflats, elegant and patient. I opened the album again, studying my grandfather's face in those old photos, his gentle smile as he taught me to code his proud expression at my high school graduation. "Why forge the codicil?" I asked. "Why lie about everything?" Anna's shoulders shook. "Your parents were drowning Ethan. Bill's stress watching Izzy struggle without a car while you had this bright future ahead of you. I thought God help me. I thought I could balance the scales, make it fair for everyone." She pulled a tissue from her pocket, dabbed at her eyes. "Your grandfather would have wanted to help everyone, not just you. But he didn't," I said, voice steady. "He chose to invest in my education specifically. That was his right." She nodded, tears flowing freely now. "I know. I dishonored his memory and nearly destroyed your trust in justice itself. I'm so sorry, mijo." The word mijo, little son, hit me like a punch to the chest. She'd called me that since I was 5 years old, had been the aunt who remembered every birthday, every achievement. The betrayal felt more complex now, layered with genuine love gone wrong. "The album," I said. "The missing photo." Anna reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a single photograph, my entire family, at last year's Dia de los Muertos celebration, arms linked, laughing at something Dad had said. In the center stood my grandfather's portrait on our makeshift altar, surrounded by marigolds and candles. We looked happy, whole. "He made me promise to give this to you if the family ever fractured," she said. "He knew money could divide us. He hoped this would remind you that we're more than our worst mistakes." I stared at the photo, remembering that night, the warmth of the kitchen, the smell of tamales and hot chocolate, Izzy teaching me a TikTok dance, while Mom laughed until she cried. It felt like a lifetime ago. "What happens now?" I asked. Anna turned back to the river. "I'm moving to Sacramento to live with my daughter. I can't face your parents, can't undo what I've done. But I wanted you to have this." She gestured to the album. "And to know that your grandfather's love for you was never conditional. Never." We sat in silence as the sky deepened to purple. Streetlights began flickering on across the bridge. Finally, I stood. "Anna," I said. She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't erase consequences." She nodded, understanding. "Take care of yourself, mijo. And maybe someday you can help heal what I broke." I walked back to my car, the album tucked under my arm. As I drove home, I thought about justice and mercy, about the difference between legal victory and moral clarity. I'd won my case, recovered my money, exposed the fraud. But sitting in that park, I realized I'd also lost something, the simple belief that family love was uncomplicated. Back at Raphael's cafe, I found Izzy waiting at our usual booth, laptop open, working on client designs. She looked up when I entered, searching my face. "How did it go?" I slid the photo across to her, our family whole and laughing. She picked it up, eyes immediately filling with tears. "We were happy then," she whispered. "We can be again," I said, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. "But it'll be different, harder. We'll have to earn it." Over the following weeks, I threw myself into work, coding, designing, building Cold Start Studios' client base. The legal settlement had secured my education funding, but more importantly, it had taught me that some battles are worth fighting even when they cost everything. Mom texted occasionally tentative messages about the weather, about a recipe she thought I'd like. Dad called once, voice thick with emotion, to tell me he was proud of how I'd handled everything. "You stood up for what was right," he said, "even when it hurt us all." I enrolled in family counseling with a therapist Dr. Martinez recommended, not with my parents, not yet. but to process the grief of losing my childhood faith in family perfection. In those sessions, I learned that love and justice don't always align, that sometimes protecting yourself means disappointing people you care about. 3 months later, Izzy knocked on my cabin door with news she'd saved enough from her freelance work to buy her own car, a used Honda Accord, nothing fancy but hers. "I wanted to earn it myself," she said, "like you taught me." We drove to the coast that weekend, windows down, music loud, talking about everything except the lawsuit. At Cannon Beach, we walked along the tide pools, watching anemones close at our touch, then bloom open again when we stepped away. Resilience in miniature. "Do you think we'll ever be normal again?" Izzy asked, skipping a stone across the waves. I considered the question, watching the stone disappear beneath the surface. "I don't think we were ever normal," I said. "But maybe we can be honest. Maybe that's better." As we drove back to Portland that evening, the city lights spreading out before us like a circuit board, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months: peace. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of integration, of holding both love and justice, both forgiveness and boundaries in the same heart. The 529 plan had been restored. My education was secure. Aunt Anna had moved away, carrying her guilt like a stone. My parents were slowly rebuilding their finances and their relationship with me. The family was different now, scarred, but perhaps stronger, honest in ways we'd never been before. I pulled into Raphael's parking lot as the cafe's neon sign flickered to life. Cafe and canvas. Inside, Raphael was closing up, wiping down tables with the methodical care of someone who understood that daily rituals, making coffee, creating art, showing up for the people you love, are what hold the world together when everything else falls apart. "How was the coast?" he asked. "Good," I said. "Really good." And for the first time in months, I meant it completely. 6 months later, I walked across the stage at RMIT Portland, diploma in hand, my family cheering from the audience, Mom, Dad, Izzy, even Raphael, with his camera flashing. The money I'd fought for had funded not just my degree, but something more valuable, the knowledge that I could stand up for myself while still loving the people who'd hurt me. After graduation, Cold Start Studio landed its biggest client yet, a nonprofit helping families navigate financial disputes. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd become someone who helped other people fight for what was theirs while learning to forgive. That night, at the celebration dinner Raphael hosted at the cafe, I raised my glass of sparkling cider. "To family," I said, looking around the table at faces marked by struggle and love. "Not the family we're born into, but the family we choose to become." The toast echoed around the table, and I felt my grandfather's presence in that moment, not in forged documents or stolen money, but in the simple act of people choosing again and again to love each other, despite everything. Outside, Portland sparkled in the darkness, full of stories like ours, messy, complicated, ultimately human. And somewhere in that vast city, other families were learning the same hard truth I'd discovered, that justice and love can coexist, but only if we're brave enough to demand both.